thousands of people in front of the Parliament House thanking the Parliament. Usually that doesn't, or that never happens. Usually people just complain about what the decision makers are doing. So it was historic in that sense also. But of course, what makes it groundbreaking is that it's the first time that the politicians' monopoly for determining their own agenda was broken. So now, if you have 50,000 people, you can force any item on the political agenda or on the agenda of the Parliament. Of course, in this case, there was a lot of MPs, the 76, who had signed their own initiative just a month before this campaign, and then during the campaign, a lot of work was done to get more MPs on board this initiative, and other initiatives so far haven't been as successful. They have been turned down. There's altogether so far 9 initiatives that have reached this 50,000 threshold. 6 of those have been turned into the Parliament so far. The other 3 will be given to the next Parliament, as the elections are now in April. So what we do at Open Ministry is help these people who want to design and crowdsource a campaign. We've been helping 5 out of these 9 that have gone through, and of course a large number of other campaigns that have not been as successful. One of actually the most crowdsourced initiative was to change the copyright legislation. There was more than 140 people, I think, contributing to the text, with more than 10 legal experts writing out the law proposal. Of course, in that case, it's a complicated issue, and it became kind of a collection of many different improvement suggestions to the copyright legislation, and that also made it a bit difficult for people to understand, and also the politicians to understand, since they are no copyright experts either. But that ended up being voted down, especially due to heavy copyright lobbying from organizations, and also the other initiatives so far have been voted down. So now that we got the first one through in the end of last year, that's hopefully a good sign for the future initiatives, that at least people feel now that they have a good chance to get these initiatives through. So what we have been doing is testing out different processes and tools to help people design and collaborate on these initiatives. We've helped them find volunteer lawyers to write these initiatives into law format once the campaign has found some kind of consensus on what the content of the proposal is. And we've tried to make sure that anybody who sets up such a campaign has all the lessons learned from the previous campaigns, to avoid any mistakes and to benefit from everything that has been done already. In terms of the lessons learned, I would say that there's definitely need for support and facilitation in any citizen kind of grassroots self-organized campaign. There's a need for tools that do a better job than Facebook groups and email chains and other free tools out there. That's why we are also taking part in this decentralized citizen engagement technologies project that Gunnar just mentioned, where the idea is now with EU funding to come out with with tools for people to set up grassroots campaigns like the ones we've been helping out in the last few years with tools for people to share tasks, share calendars, co-edit documents, and kind of manage the campaign, and also bring in as much people to contribute to the project as possible. But of course, it's kind of two-level activism, as we heard before. There's kind of this lightweight activism, which it's taking part in a campaign. It's of course the minimum target is to get you to sign the initiative, be one of the 50,000 people. But what the people running the campaigns, of course, need and want is for you to do more than that. How you can take part in actually promoting the campaign further than just signing it. And signing it, by the way, in Finland works currently. The typical way people sign anything online is with their bank IDs. That's the current way. So more than 160,000 people did that for the same-sex marriages initiative. The rules for the processes need to be a bit more flexible than they are. I mean, currently these initiatives, when they reach Parliament, they are processed the same way as government bills, which means that the process is not very open, and it doesn't take the kind of voice of the citizens into account during that process of committee hearings and so on. So that's something that needs to be more open, and of course there needs to be more funding for these organizations that support and facilitate these processes, including kind of attracting, recruiting volunteer lawyers to help citizens who want to make a change. So there's, I mean, these lessons I think apply to any crowdsourcing activities in the EU level also, and we've been taking part in thinking about how the European Citizens Initiative should be improved. One of the main points, I think, is that the power needs to be real, otherwise people will get disillusioned quite quickly. And that's what is good in the Finnish system, is that this is the latest basic right. People who have the right to set up citizens' initiatives and have the right to get them processed by the parliament if they get 50,000 supporters, and that's enshrined in the constitution now. So in the same way, in other countries and in the European level, the power needs to be actual and not imaginary. As is the problem a bit with the European Citizens Initiative now. It can only be on certain topics, and if they are not politically comfortable, they don't have to be accepted, as has been the case now with the TTIP initiative. Any crowdsourcing tools, I think, in the EU level and in general should have open interfaces. So that it's easy to link services with each other. So, for example, if there's online signing platforms, of course, they should be open source, but they should also have interfaces so that it's easy to link up your campaign tools. So that, for example, if people come to sign, they can then be forwarded back to the campaign site, so they can be told what they can do next to contribute to the campaign and so on. They should also enable crowdfunding of the campaigns. One general point is also that there should be a referendum recourse, so that if these initiatives, this is not currently the case in Finland, but it should be also in Finland, that if the politicians vote down these initiatives one after another, then that shows that there's no power in them. But if there was a possibility every time that the initiative is voted down for the people to get a referendum on the issue, then the politicians would be forced to process the proposals in a due manner. There you have it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Very interesting example. Now our next speaker is Mrs. Bezuhanova, President of MoveBG.
I'm not the president of MoveBG, but I'm the founder of MoveBG.
Okay, who is the president then?
Actually, there is no president because this is a civic organization. It is a horizontal network that really creates a platform for stimulating and bringing together the energy of a big network of civic organizations. That's MoveBG. We've created MoveBG that comes from Move Bulgaria 1.5 years ago, when in our country was very critical. There was a need and there was a spontaneous impulse for change, bringing many people on the street. We decided to create a place, a civic platform that brings together the experts and also the active citizens of Bulgaria for common action and for really working together on the long-term strategies and long-term paths for changing the countries. Next slide, please. MoveBG is about three things. We are working on really defining the strategic and, of course, practical steps, strategic lines for development of Bulgaria, for building up and stimulating creation of community of people that are collaborating and are working in a creative way together for future of prosperous Bulgaria. And we are also civic activists or an organization that is stimulating civic activist actions. So all those three goes together. And what shows this 1 year of existence of our organization is that this holistic, innovative approach that really tries to operate both on a think tank level but also on the social activist level gives very effective practical results. So what we are doing is that we are working and using crowdsourcing and consultancy. We identify critical topics for democratic or even European development of Bulgaria, which recently became also a topic in our country. So we identify the problem. We also identify the stakeholders in the community that can, in a collaborative way, work for solving these problems. We implement an environment using different online and offline instruments, and I'll talk a bit later about this in more details, in accordance to evaluate all different alternatives and opinions, and also to give a platform for different views in a cross-disciplinary basis for solving these problems to be presented and to be seen. And this holistic approach, I believe and we believe, and that's why we are following this way, is the only mechanisms, the sustainable solutions for social development to be identified and to be implemented and followed. Can you please return it for a second? So what we does, we form ad hoc coalitions on specific topics that meets physically but also operate online on special forums. We set a common agenda which normally ends up into 3 to 5 key topics that we want to boost in front of the institutions or advocate or legislatively to push to be accepted and developed. And also, in parallel of this, we does different activist campaigns that introduce to the public, to wider community, the problems in a simply phrased and understandable manner. But we also are working with the institutions for really advocating those solutions. And once results are achieved, we of course are promoting through social media and with other existing online mechanisms. We have YouTube channel for streaming our activities and inviting participation. We use lots of specialized instruments online. And as I said, finally, we are using all those channels in accordance to promote back in the community the results, because this is also a proof for the citizens that their effort was to participate, to collaborate, to give opinions, to consult, was giving a result, but it's also a stimulus and develops this culture in the community. So next slide, please. I will share with you one specific example that is a success. It is about a campaign on media pluralism that we've been driving in last 6 months together with specialized organizations and lots of active citizens in Bulgaria. So why media pluralism? Of course, this is a big topic also on the European stage, but for Bulgaria is really very critical. As you see, Bulgaria is on the 100th place out of 180 cities in the last report of Reporters Without Borders Press Freedom Index, and there are lots of systematic problems with respect of transparency, of ownership control, of using media for political influence that requires an urgent intervention. And this initiative we identified as one of the key priorities of our activities. MoveBG was invited to become a partner of the European initiatives on media pluralism that was using a new instrument created by Citizens for Europe. Most probably majority of you know it, European Citizens Initiative. For those that most probably are not familiar with it, there is a need within 10 European countries to be collected 1,000 votes on specific, 1 million votes for specific topics, and then it is introduced to the European Parliament to be with strong recommendations coming from citizens for implementing an EU directive. So we've been coordinating these initiatives on a Bulgarian level, and although it looked like online activist type of action needed, which was the approach that was taken I think in majority of the countries, we made out of the topic of media pluralism really a very strong case in the community, introducing different channels to really debate and put the topic in the public discussion. With the view of the timing, I won't go in details on what we've did, just will really share with you some of the activities. What we did, we've used our social media channels for an activist campaign to promote the need of media freedom in Bulgaria, and we created an ad hoc coalitions of key media, traditional new media, media organizations, PR organizations that were dealing with media, actually that were collaborating with the media for specific advertising activities. And together within these ad hoc coalitions, we identify specific topics, 5 elements that we wanted to be promoted and advocate and introduce in Bulgarian specific environment, while of course we've been sharing the European agenda. We had on-site conferences in 7 cities in the country, where we've invited representatives of local media, active citizens, and also local government to introduce the campaign to promote why working for media freedom is important, and to translate this in economic benefits and also in social development concrete results if this happens. In parallel, we had different civic engagements that were really targeting young people and supporting the collection of votes in support of the big European initiatives. Also, we used with streaming facilities, we had online presented debates on key topics that was critical for the development of the media environment. So what I'm trying to illustrate is that at the end of the day, the result was that first of all, Bulgaria was the only country that collected the votes and the quota that was in support of the European initiative. The media pluralism became a key topic on the public agenda. More media coalitions were created as a viral effect, if you want, on different topics, more specialized with the view of the development of the media environment. And the government adopted in its agenda majority of the proposed measures. This was the outcome. And this was possible because of this holistic approach that included an effective combination of online and offline instruments in accordance to make it public, but also to use online channels to engage the public opinion. Last slide, please. Yeah. Not the previous one. So what works, what doesn't work, which was a result of this and another activities. Obviously, using only online instruments, it was said in the previous speakers, or organizing only activist campaigns doesn't work. It requires a holistic approach, and it really gives results when experts and civil society representatives are working together. So obviously only expert debates or only publicly crowdsourced solutions are also not giving the adequate result. Our experience shows, and that's the way that we are following, that cross-disciplinary and holistic approach, and also presenting honestly the alternative solutions for debate, but already, if you want, not pre-cooked, at least phrased by the experts, is an approach that gives very concrete, adequate results. Ad hoc civic engagements are not working. It is important all key stakeholders to be engaged, and also to define a coordinated agenda that is really working through different channels in the community. And last slide, please. For the EU platform, what we recommend, it is important the problem that is debated to be phrased in a comprehensive manner, so that citizens can identify themselves with it. It is also, based on our experience, we would recommend that the problems that are debated on an European level are channeled through national mediators, which will give a chance to have a more locally adequate message. I've stated already includes all stakeholders, stimulate open and transparent dialogue, outline all alternatives, and apply cross-disciplinary and holistic approach, form online and offline coalition, and use online and offline inclusive instruments. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed. We are very proud that Bulgaria was the one that collected the necessary number of signatures under the media pluralism. Unfortunately, that was not the case for the other countries, but at least maybe Bulgaria needed it most. That's why it happened there. And also, of course, the very good support infrastructure that was just described in place. I'm very happy to welcome today here Mr. Henderson, Actually, when we announced the conference, he approached me because the institute he's working for have just finalized a very interesting piece of research. So I guess we'll be the lucky ones to hear the findings now here at this forum. Thank you very much for coming, and we're looking forward to hear what you have discovered in the institute.
Thank you. You might well be unlucky. I've got about 7 minutes, 7 slides, so I'll try and keep it concise. I've seen the sandwiches waiting there. Can't wait to get into them. As you said, I'm a late arrival. I have been working on a project in conjunction with these folks down here, the Policy Dialogue Support Facility 2, not a great name, and the European External Action Service, in conjunction with colleagues in China at the State Council of Legislative Affairs. It's been a real roller coaster. And I want to talk to you about something I call open legislation, but it's more about soliciting comments on texts online, which sounds really dry, but the conclusions are probably universal. So underpinning all of this are two sort of fundamental principles, and that is that the public are not dumb, that they can actually have a decent conversation, that they have got an opinion, and that they're capable of solving complex problems. So they've got value. Having public feedback is valuable. And the second part is that the experts, or the so-called experts, are not necessarily experts. And hopefully some of you can relate to that. So if you think about the matrix of possible interventions or possible ways that we can get citizens involved in decision-making, they look something like that. And if you go left to right here, you're going sort of towards more direct democracy on the right, so more empowering on the right. The gaps, the places that we tend to miss out, that we tend to need to focus on, are on the left. So the active listening and the pre-consultation. The questions here, what do the public think about current legislation? Who are the key influences and where do they congregate? Do we need new or revised legislation on a given issue? And what is the current sentiment about an issue or law? So these are the things that probably are not happening, and anything to the right of that does happen. So a little bit about China. I don't speak Mandarin, so don't ask me anything. But they have a website, chinalaw.gov.cn, which probably isn't worth going because you, again, wouldn't understand it and you need to register. But on there, they have consulted on legislation since 2009. Which is stunning, really. Over 100 laws published, and they also consult on departmental laws. They have received over 100,000 comments, they tell me. But even this is disappointing. If you think China's got a population of 1.4 billion, you know, this is a tiny fraction. And what would happen if they actually received feedback from every citizen? 1.4 billion pieces of feedback. Gosh, that would be a challenge. Just to cut through that. So for them, the 99-1 web rule applies, which is, 90% of the time no one's interested, no one visits. If you're lucky, 9% will actually come and look at what's going on. And if you're really lucky, 1% of them will actually leave a piece of feedback. So the challenge is actually increasing the participation, probably as well as the quality of it. Here's an example of an online platform where you can leave feedback on a text. This is called Madison. It's by the Open Government Foundation. It's open source, which means it's on GitHub. Has anyone heard of GitHub? Okay, it's not where Gits hang out. So basically what you do is you have a piece of text and you can highlight something that interests you. You can annotate it. You can see other people's annotations. You can tag them. You can thumb up, thumb down what other people have written. And eventually we get some crowdsourced information about a text, which is fantastic. So what did we learn? Well, there are probably 5 or 6 things that we learn. Firstly, that online public feedback on all legislation should be the default position. Somebody mentioned earlier the Digital Democracy Commission and their report yesterday. The UK Parliament have decided that this is a good idea and that this should probably happen by the end of 2016, which is fab. I don't know what the situation here is with the European Parliament, but maybe they'll get to this position. That we need a clear consultation mandate for every time we participate with citizens. So the mandate would say, what's the consultation? When is it closing? What's it about? What are we going to do with your information? And key to this is really what's been decided and what has not been decided. We also need really good feed forward of public comments, and this is obviously a big problem due to timing. So when we've got the synthesis of what the public said, is there an opportunity to provide that to parliamentarians in time to impact or affect legislation? My experience is that we need some really good qualitative data analysis tools. I recommend you go and have a look at something called QSR NVivo when you've got spare time. And the public feedback needs to be heard publicly. So in the UK, we're talking about a public reading day. Maybe we need a new chamber, which is a public chamber, to actually debate what people have said. We also need more pre-consultation. So public dialogue is really, really important. So before we even get to the draft legislation, we needed to have had a conversation. And we need more online dialogic tools to do that. The merits of a bill are quite different to the technicalities of it. There's one more that I missed out on here, because you know you always think about something on the train. Number 6 would be that we probably need more metadata around consultations, that we need to bring every piece of public participation into a single hub. The reason I say that is a typical scenario is that we'll have one consultation over here, we'll have one consultation over here. Never the two shall meet, but they probably intertwined. So when you're consulting on one subject and another subject, you get two different answers. But if the two subjects knew of each other, you'd probably get a third answer. Okay, so I'll summarize for those people who like algebra. No public feedback equal narrow views equal poor legislation. Hopefully that one's obvious. Public feedback plus no change minus reasons, no hope, no point. Public feedback plus no participants is no effort, no trust. Well, actually, there's probably a bit more going on there with the 99-1 rule. There probably needs to be more stimulation as well. And perhaps we are slacktivists, as someone suggested earlier. But ultimately, public feedback plus change equals impact plus better legislation. And that's ultimately where we need to be. Thank you.
I would suggest that we leave the previous slide because actually it's a very good summary of the situation. Thank you very much. Okay, we have 20 minutes, and my suggestion is that we spend them in the following way. We have some comments and questions for the first 10 minutes, and then we do the online voting. How much time do we need? 5 minutes? 5? Okay, 15 then for questions and comments. I would just kindly ask you to present yourselves, please. The microphone. Who? I do have one, yeah. Buongiorno.
Yes. Yes.
On the table, there's a second one.
Yes,
yeah, sorry.
Yes, hello, thank you. Gilles Bordelais is my name. I'm a board member of the European Pirate Party, and I work in the European Parliament. Well, as a pirate, I'm very much involved in anything participatory. We had a similar conference as these, focusing mainly on tools to actually enforce what is being talked about. So I was very interested in the second part of the day. Do we have any kind of, will there be any kind of access to a digital form of those presentations? Because a lot of things were said with links, tools presented, the names flashed by a bit fast. Yeah, will there be anything centralized that we can grasp? Pretty interested in some of the things that were mentioned. And another thing is, what will be the follow-up on this here? Because I think we've seen many things doing similar things, and I guess some networking among the people working on participation is definitely needed, because I can tell you that none of the things that were presented today were at the conference we held on liquid democracy, and none of the things that were there were here. So there's definitely some networking needed.
The answer to the first question is yes. Besides the fact that we live stream, we also record it. So it will be available, the whole event is recorded and available on our website, plus all the presentations will be made available, as well as we will come up with a summary, short report of the findings. Couldn't agree more from my side about the need for networking. For us, even this exercise took a lot of time, because we started from identifying promising national examples in order to bring them here and to get to know each other. Some of the people here I have met previously, but not all of them, which is a good thing, and it's good that we are complementary then and do not do repetitions. So let's network and follow it up. This is from my side. I think everyone will agree. Thanks. Okay, other comments, questions? Yes.
Thank you very much. Well, I would like to have a question to Mr. Novaretti, because very often here we are talking about a lot of new digital tools for more direct democracy, more participatory democracy, and I very much agree it's super important. Oh, by the way, I'm Alexandra Kluska from ISH Europe. Sorry, forgot to mention. But we were sitting just here and discussing with my colleagues from ISH that while this is all very, very important, sometimes it also creates this effect of duplication and making citizens even more lost when they have so many tools and they don't have like one structured, centralized place where they can go when they know that, okay, I want to take part in some consultations, I go to this website and then I can browse what I need. So what I think what we would really like to see is to have like one central structured European online public space, for instance, like coming from the initiative of institutions where people can browse consultations by topics, by countries, by places they that are close to them, like basically one space where they can find all the information, having spaces for discussion and for participation. Like I think that this should be also, while it is important, of course, of having this pluralism of many, many tools, it would be also important of having like one structured space. So I would be interested if there are any plans of having such infrastructure and maybe of some opinions of the others. Thank you very much.
Elisa,
okay.
Wait a bit. Can we gather one or two more comments and questions, and then I will be happy to give you a floor, or if there are any, of course.
I saw some hands before.
Again? Okay.
Yes, I'm happy to ask something as well to with the sir from DG Connect, because you were advocating easy ways to register for participants, and now I'm asking myself, how far are you involved with the way the ECI has been concocted? Because for the European Citizen Initiative, we definitely have, depending on which member state we are in, difficulties registering. So what is the connection here? Is it the change in view in what the Commission is thinking or plans to do? Because the review for the ECI is coming up, so can we expect to see things happening there? Thanks.
Any other comments or questions?
Okay. So thank you for the question. First, I will to react on the networking that you raised. I organized, I think now it's 1 year or a bit more, year ago, a workshop on e-participation where we did some networking. So we had some presentation, but we did also some networking leading people to discuss among them, and also to work on specific topics. So it was a kind of applying participation on any participation event. And maybe I will try to organize another event like that, maybe in 15. So I will try, I would say. I cannot commit for a different reason, but I will try because I think it's a good idea not only to share best practices, lessons learned, and this kind of thing, but also to have discussion and in face-to-face meeting. On the one big central platform to collect everything on the participation, of course, we have already the Europa website when many DGs do public consultation, but of course we don't have a central one. I don't know if you know the Futurium platform. So we started in DG Connect, but now it's under the DG Digit, under the IT department of the Commission taking care about this platform. So there is no decision yet to have this kind of platform, but we have a lot of discussion of using a kind of central platform based on different experiences, and one of those experiences is the Futurium platform, where we have had a lot of debate and a lot of discussions online. On the ECI, it's not DG Connect, it's the Secretariat General, which is responsible of the European Citizen Initiative platform and process. And I know, because I have been consulted just, I think, last week, that they are doing a review and they are planning to have a new platform, a new process, also regarding registration and this kind of thing. So unfortunately, I cannot tell you the detail. I don't know the details, but it's ongoing. It's and it will be improved. I don't have dates, so I cannot commit once again. Sorry, but of course we have learned, and Secretariat General I think has learned a lot with the current version of the ECI. Of course, it was the first attempt to put the Lisbon Treaty and one of the articles in practice. But of course, many things can be done to improve it. But so the Commission is working on that, and there will be a new version. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now you are invited to take part in the voting. Meanwhile, some comments from our panelists.
Yeah, I would just like to also take part in the discussion about this central platform that was just now raised up. I think regular citizens would be quite bored if they went to a site where it's nothing but consultations. I think the better idea is to make sure that the information about all the different ways to participate and all the different consultations that are ongoing are published in open data, good quality metadata, so that any sites who have the visitors, who have the people participating and engaging, can make sure that those people know about what's going on. I would be very wary about building up a central platform that would kind of have all the consultations in the world in one place. It wouldn't be a place where people would go, I think.
Yeah, I think I mostly agree with Joonas on that. The thing is that we have a unique problem on our hands. We have huge amounts of data, we have huge amounts of issues, and we have huge amounts of citizens. And the thing is that if you try to do that's what we did with our first installation. We presented a front page which had like 180 different links, because we believed that people wanted to be able to do everything just from the front page. And then we just realized how extremely wrong we were. So we need to find ways, use ways that can present lots of data in ways that make sense to you at what you're doing right now. So we can't just put links to all the data in the world. We need all the data in the world, but we have to do both artificial intelligence working on this data to present the correct data, and crowdsource that data as well in order for other people to tell you what's really important to them, and thereby find out what's most important to all of us. And this goes for data, this goes for the voting, and this goes as well for the citizens. And this is not something that we're going to solve in 2015. Sorry. We're going to start and we're going to keep on working, but we're just like, we're still in diapers, really, in electronic democracy. So it's unreasonable to expect everything to be like solved at the end of this year, but there's lots of interesting stuff going on. And like you mentioned, you go from conference to conference and everything is new, and there is no, and we need the networking, we needed that for years, and I think we will get it. But again, this is a huge field of people doing, academia is doing one thing, grassroots is doing another, political doing some, and it's really hard to connect all those different endeavors and all those different sort of niches in life together. But I think we'll get there, it's just going to take too much time.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add that I'm sort of intrigued by the notion of a national dialogue or a space, a destination that people go. I prefer the idea that perhaps we go and listen in the spaces that people are already talking. However, I think the answer is probably development of technical standards that allows us to aggregate all of those views, and to be sure that we are having a conversation with somebody in an official capacity, so allowing our civil servants to respond to people as they talk in some kind of way or space.
Thank you. Comments?
I think that we are at the beginning of the journey. Still, many things are experimented, many good ideas are popping up from different places. In my view, there is a need of really further maturing of the process and structuring the experience that already exists here and there, so that we then go for common standards. But I think that if we now try to structure, to introduce a common platform, to put it in a format that to be uniformed, we may really limit the opportunity to take advantage of this creative development process that goes, as it was said, both bottom up, grassroots, and also is on the agenda of the policy makers. I rather would encourage that we create a network, we exchange, we take advantage of the tools that exist already. We don't try to reinvent what already has been done, and here definitely ACAS can play a role in bringing us together and stimulate this dialogue, and localize this experience in our places and countries and communities in accordance with the culture of using the instruments of e-participation and e-democracy to grow, which I think in this stage of development of the community is most important.
Thank you. As I'm seeing here the colleagues from the Economic and Social Committee, I know that we organized together with them, or they together with us, in cooperation, an annual ECI Day. Maybe it's time to think of organizing an annual Digital Democracy Day, for example. It may be an idea. With regard to the ECI Day this year will be, it's confirmed on the 13th of April. And from what we know, the European Commission should present a report by 1st of April in order to feed the process of the revision of the regulation, as well as they are undertaking a study now of the process of online collection of signatures, how it works, what doesn't work, and so on and so forth. So we'll be eager to look at the results and to see what will be the next steps, because apparently with or without an ECI Day, this instrument needs to be revised in order to make it work. I know that you, excuse me, you wanted the floor. You have the mic.
Yes, thank you. I'm Paul Smits from IJ European Student Forum. And I wanted to react to what Mr. Pekkanen just said, and also the other panelists touched upon it, because I strongly disagree actually that citizens would not be interested to go to the one central platform. Now we just had some surveys about the co-decision and co-legislation, and if we actually have true co-legislation in this platform on all levels, we also talked this morning about this local contextualization, bringing the legislation close to the citizens. If also the local legislation and the national legislation and the European legislation, if everything is done by co-legislation and the citizens have a true influence, then of course they would be interested to go to the central platform. And I think I would like to agree that also, of course, we need some innovations and creativity for this. How to get all the information to the citizens? Well, we already heard a bit about this artificial intelligence, and there's other things possible. The categorizations, tagging, everything, what we now also have in social media can be a solution for this. And we, don't get me wrong, we fully support this creativity that's now going on and that NGOs are taking the lead, but we would like to see that also the governments put more effort into developing these tools and to define and cooperate what will be the best way to actually involve citizens in the decision making.
In addition to that, there are additional challenges posed by the fact that actually if we are going to have co-decision, especially at EU level, this will mean commitment on behalf of the decision makers and also spending time in real commitment. And I don't know what kind of effort it will need in order to convince them that this is worth doing. So yes, it's a process, but we'd better start now, sooner than later, because then we'll have a chance also to see a positive development, or at least results one day. Yes? Oh, okay.
Thank you. I would like just to add something around the discussion around the central platform. Personally, I think I don't believe in big machinery on these kind of things, but of course it will be easier to have an overview of what is happening at EU level and also national, regional. But as it was mentioned, I strongly believe in putting in place a framework, so I call the ecosystem, where things can happen. So metadata, standards, links, tools, means that are available, that can be shared, reused. But of course, I think at local level, regional level, the issues and the topic may be different as the European level, even if there are links between the legislations. And so my main key message is, of course, we need to have an overview, but not to create really something big and not manageable at the end, whereas it is the only place where we have information. So we should link things, we should link the different platforms that can reuse the same tools, the same standards, but I don't believe in really something big at European level and that's it. I think this would never work.
Thank you very much. Apparently we have diverse, different points of view, which is good. We need to communicate more and to discuss those issues. I hope that this is like the first step of many in the chain of having similar events and really trying to advance with at least the thinking about what ingredients we need in place in order to cook digital democracy at EU level. I'd like to thank you very much for your active participation. I'd like to thank all the partners and the panelists for being so kind to come here to Brussels to share their experience with us. I'd like to also thank very much ECA's team, especially Elisa, who was the driving force of today's event. And I'd like also to thank very much our colleagues who made it possible for everyone beyond the Brussels bubble to participate and to be part of the debate today. Now you're welcome to get advantage of whatever is outside the room. We will see. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you.
Très intéressant aussi.
Good. Right, I shall eat.
Yes.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
I'm going to be joining you later, so
Yes.
extend the conversation.
Exactly. In a small format.
Hi.
Hello.
Can I also bother to give you my card and maybe
Please
get
do.
yours?
I'm delighted to be
Let's
bothered.
see. Because I really enjoyed your concise way of putting the lessons learned.
Thank you.
And when you see something like that, you need to
follow it up.
To follow it up and maybe get in contact. I'm the
I like compliments. That's great. Thank you.
think tank in Latvia, so the research part of that also was interesting to me.
Well, the report, I mean, there's quite a lengthy report behind this.
I'll forward that to my colleagues. That's one of the reasons why I thought if I don't find it by Google,
you can
I can directly send that colleague
from
to
the
you.
source.
Yes, from the horse's mouth. So yes, thank you.
Hopefully it can be shared. I have shared it a little bit, but you know,
So it's upcoming.
it's difficult because of course the owner is the
course.
external advisory service, and there are some Mandarin bits in there which haven't been translated yet. But I'm sure I can send you a draft. I mean, it's not the official Secrets Act. It's
Well, this is the thing when you do research for someone who's made an order for it. That not always they're very willing to also publicly made it available.
Well, it's public money, so
yeah, exactly.
it should be in the public.
I mean, in many countries they say once it's public money it should be publicly available. But I know it's not always. Not yet.
They can sack me. The project's finished. So.
Yeah. On the other hand, you have a point.